Welcome to this very unique podcast series where we have heart-to-heart conversations with thought leaders and business experts from the software industry. Our specific focus would be on software quality and software testing. As we journey through this podcast series, get ready for some enlightening discussions we are going to have. It will span from the very obvious to very hidden gems, from everyday practices to groundbreaking innovations, but be very assured that every podcast that we do will kindle an interest in the seeker and the thinker within you. So for this series of podcasts, we have collaborated with none other than India's largest integrated IT service provider, Tata Consulting Services, TCS. So we are very, very fortunate that we have with us Mr. Lalatendu Sahoo, the head of Test Quality Engineering for the Banking and Financial Services and Insurance vertical at TCS. Lala, as he is fondly called, and he prefers to be called that way, and that's how we are going to be referring to him throughout this podcast. He's a specialist, he's a generalist, and for me, most importantly, he's an evangelist for testing and anything that is related to it. He has had a very interesting career graph if you really look at it. His career spanning 25 years, and 25 years in this industry is a pretty long time. And he has started as a support engineer, moved on to become a software developer, a business analyst, an architect, a consultant, a practice manager, to today heading the test engineering for the BFSI division. And he says his passion is to look for what this function of testing, what it can contribute beyond for the business and for the technology. So Lala, welcome to this podcast. Very, very happy to have you here.
Thanks, JP.
So I'll start with a very, very uncomfortable question. You spent 25 years in TCS. It's a single organization you have spent almost your entire career. Now on one end, people say TCS is like a government organization. Once you get in, you don't, you wait for retirement. But I don't think that is relevant for you because you have been an overachiever. You are a thought and a business leader. So what made you stay back in the same organization, especially TCS, for all these years, making these role changes as we went along? And I'll have a follow-up question to it, but I would let you answer this question first.
So first of all, I would like to actually thank you, JP and Viepul, for this opportunity. I think it was for quite some time that we were looking to actually essentially talk to the community in TCS as well as the community in general in terms of testing, quality engineering, and all the stakeholders therein. So fairly excited, fairly happy to be here talking about it. To the question that you asked in terms of why TCS and why for so long, something that I hold pretty close to and right from the beginning of my career has been part of learning. Every opportunity, and you referred to that about that also, JP, that I have gone through different roles and different transitions at different points of time. Every role that I performed, every job that I took up, it gave me that opportunity and space to learn. Right from coming out of the, so to say, institute, thrown into a job where you get right in front of the specialists in terms of learning from them, business, how it happens, retail business, how it happens. Going from there in terms of actually trying to work with tech specialists, because early on, while I might have a little bit of a business background, early on I realized that I have to be there in the technology industry. I have to learn technology. I cannot be away from technology, and I cannot then evangelize technology, so to say. Gave me that opportunity and space to essentially learn about different spaces, have that all-rounded view. In fact, in terms of business, in terms of development, in terms of support also, in terms of then getting into the customer space. That gave me also the space to learn enough that when I took up something in the testing side of it, testing, as we know, stands in the center of a lot of changes, and you have to be able to relate not just to the people who are standing in the shoes for testing, but also to the stakeholders who are actually surrounding that. So that learning capability is something that I was always given the space in TCS and the flexibility to move around. move from a role of actually carrying out doing testing to be a consultant to doing sales for testing to actually leading the practice and then creating certain things, have that liberty. And the most important part of it is the last word I used, creation. So that liberty to create things, create thoughts. Yes, it's not always possible probably to sit back and ponder over things on a longer term, but then that creativity is something that has also been given as an opportunity in TCS. So that keeps me going in the organization. So while I might have stayed in an organization for a longer duration, I have not stayed on one single area of focus only for the entire duration. I have been able to scale across different roles, carry out different jobs at different points of time, and at the same time hopefully created value for the organization and value also for the service that we are actually doing, especially now testing and quality engineering in that sense. So yes.
So essentially what you are saying is, although you were in one organization, you're actually working in multiple organizations, like your roles were that. That brings me to my follow-up question here. You said you were given the ability to create and you were given the opportunity. Now, a lot of people, especially testers, they say they are stuck in a rut. They are stuck in their positions, they are stuck in the roles they are doing, they are stuck in the kind of activities they are doing. A manual tester is saying, I want to be doing something else. The automation guy is saying, I'm stuck with Selenium. So almost everybody seems stuck. On the other end, we have somebody like you who has achieved quite a bit in the testing arena itself, saying that opportunities were given and I created something out of it. Now, do these opportunities come to everybody, or are people blind to these kind of opportunities coming?
Thank you. That brings me actually to a couple of things that I really take heart to and take close to. As a, I would now say career tester for some time. I generally advise people whom I get in touch with, people who are immediate team, as well as people who essentially try to take some thoughts around. The part of attitude and aptitude is very important. Aptitude is something that you have in terms of learning, whether it is a new technology, whether it is a new domain, whether it is a new skill. You can learn those aptitudes, of course, and you can learn through different mechanisms. That today there is no limitation to that. Attitude is something that you have to actually bring to complement that attitude, aptitude that you are having. Why essentially is that attitude of inquisitiveness, that attitude in terms of questioning, the attitude of seeking more and seeking further. So for example, if a tester is there and they are essentially given a certain requirement, they are taking it, interpreting that, creating a test case and executing that. Do they or should they only limit themselves to that, saying that okay, this is the requirement that has been given, this is the test case I will design, this is the test case I will execute, or can they look for actually additional ways to interpret the requirements that is there, interpret the design and have feedbacks and thoughts there, interpret the way the test cases can actually be created and consumed, and of course the execution, and still further can they learn from that entire process and then again give further interpretation and attitude. That attitude of learning and questioning is something unless you really push yourself out there and you continuously do that, not just once, not just twice, but ever and over again, then you will be able to actually push those boundaries and move forward. Different paces, different paths for sure, but you will be able to actually make that difference, and you will be certainly noticeable in terms of your contribution. So that aptitude and attitude, I think is something that hopefully I have been trying to do it and nurture it within myself. And that is something that I try to advise the testers, especially testers. See, testers, again, I can keep going. So the testers, they don't stand in vacuum. In fact, testing itself doesn't stand in vacuum, right? It is something that is very closely linked to change. If you really want to do a best job in terms of your testing and quality engineering, you really have to do, first of all, best job in terms of understanding and interpreting the change itself. Once you have done that, you will be able to do much more better and all dimensional respect to that. That if we can bring to the table would make a lot of difference, and hence enrich your own learnings over the period of time. So no stop, no limits there essentially in terms of where we can go.
Okay, that seems a very ideal scenario, because let me speak from the other side, not from the management side, from the side, and be an advocate for the tester. Now, how many testers, be that in your organization or in the industry as well, are they being given this freedom to explore further? They are always under some kind of a time pressure. They want to do something creative. Some of them want to do something creative, but they have been always curtailed down by the iron triangle of the project of cost, time, and the quality that you have to deliver. So sometimes even when they take an effort, what happens is the immediate management, who it might be the lead or it might be the immediate manager, tries to plug that in and tries to prevent that, saying that, okay, you can do all of that one. As of say, I see no value in what you're trying to do. Please complete my project milestones, and then, Bob's your uncle, you can do what you want. So does all of this creativity, all of this self-exploration, learning, should it come at the cost of your own personal time? And is that what people should be doing, especially testers, or is there an opportunity within organizations to do that also?
The first part actually, the person and then the organization, both we should address, JP. In terms of personal space, yes, there are always boundaries, no questions about that. There are always timeline pressures, there is always a cost pressure that is there. The question is actually not about, or the thought process should not be about completely changing the paradigm and completely thinking outside that triangle or box or cube, wherever it is, but at least pushing a little bit the delta. Yes, the delta has to be dependent on the person, how much they can actually think and do. The delta need not be that if you are doing 10 things, I will do this additional 5 things in terms of, because I'm trying to learn and push the boundaries. It could be 10.01, it could be 10.02, but at least the thought process has to be there that I am trying to learn something more, do something more than what has been actually put up here. So that is the only bare minimum attitude that is required. In terms of enabling the aptitude part of it and giving that space, organizationally definitely, if I speak from our organization also, we do provide a lot of space in terms of training and reskilling, JP, at any point of time. Yes, and in fact, there is a portion which is actually officially mandated that you have to train and reskill yourself, and it is tracked as part of the organization, saying whether you are actually reskilling or you are just ticking off boxes. That is one part of it, and the independence. So, and in that also, a portion of it is the associate or the person who is actually doing the job, their independence to choose which area and what they want to pick up. A part of it, of course, from the organization mandate, saying that this is something we are driving towards, please do add this skills there. Yes, I would definitely not say that the ecosystem is there where we can really have the independence to go all out, and we just because there is a certain job that has to be done, there is a certain work that is in front of us, there is a certain delivery that has to be done for sure. But are we bringing that, or we are not letting that small fire down, die down inside us, where we are trying to do that little bit extra. And let me, and the leaders could do that. Let me give a personal example. When leading a team of testing, we were doing cards testing for this large bank in US, and there used to be, of course, I was leading the team, but then there are people who are actually doing testing as part of the team. I could have very well left it at the stage that yes, you do your test execution, you finish your design and just give it to me, tell me what is it that you have done, and I will take it and I will create a report out of it, and I will then show it to the management, saying that this is what has been accomplished, we did all that. Instead of doing that, I essentially rotated those collection of information, rotated that representation of information from each of the person actually as part of the team, saying that first time I will do it, second time I will do it, third time you do it, fourth time you do it. You collect the information, find out what is the interpretation that should be created, and present it to the leadership. So two things are happening. One is actually you are encouraging a visibility for the person. That person feels that yes, I'm not just doing my test case here, execution piece of it. I'm presenting that, I'm adding some value. But more importantly, when they listen from the leadership saying that, okay, did you think about this trend piece of it? Did you think that you're only collecting the lag measures? What could you think about? Are you thinking about where the failures could potentially come in? They're at least then when they're put on the question, they think that, okay, let me go back and investigate. I've probably not done that. I will investigate in my area. I will try to see what I can contribute. So as leaders, yes, we also need to encourage people who are working in. And when I'm saying leaders, we don't have to be leaders for 100 people, 200 people. It could be just a leader in terms of trying to do the work that you are trying to accomplish there. So that could be a small contribution. So yes, it has to be a all-round kind of work. It cannot be only that we leave it to the tester, hey, you think about it and you create the delta and you bring that delta. But as leaders, are we actually encouraging that delta is also needed, and practical examples by personal example.
So that incremental approach to self-development or any improvement, it's very, very interesting, because a lot of people want to just break the mold, break that box, and then try something totally different, and then they fail. Failure is okay, but sometimes it's actually the incremental approach that works, and be that in scaling, be that how we implement projects in a better way. See, me and Viepul, when we used to work together, we had probably India's first or among first independent software testing service providers, and we wanted to do testing in a certain way, but the market was not ready for it. So we never used to push our agenda, rather we used to give poison pills in slow doses, and we used to make those incremental changes, and one point of time the customer suddenly realized, oh, we have moved slightly away and we are doing something in a better way. So that's a very important point that you made.
So you brought this point about letting people present, not just follow you, but essentially presenting an example to them and empowering them. So most of the leaders that I am aware of worldwide don't really look for their succession. So to me, it is important that you create your succession plan. You create next level leaders. Nobody should be replaceable. That's my philosophy. Is that also your philosophy? And are you how do you create second Lala, or maybe even somebody better than Lala? So what's your plan? How do you do it?
Oh, absolutely, JP. See, I just love actually, hopefully I show it by examples, but I love coaching and mentoring people a lot, Viepul, in my limited space and limited time, how much ever it could be offered. This was, the example that I gave probably, almost 1.5 decades back, but even today, we are a team actually which essentially is trying to evangelize testing and quality engineering in TCS, in banking, financial services and insurance landscape. Testing, if nothing else, has always been challenged, Viepul. I think I'm probably speaking to peers there, always questioned, what is the value you bring to the table? Why is it relevant? Why should I do testing? Why not, I create a product itself which can just be self-tested and, just self-deployed? And hence we as a as a community and of course as an individual have to always continuously prove and re-establish ourselves in terms of the value that we bring to the table. That is something that I have been trying to coach every role that I try to potentially take up. The last before role I did, it was more of solutions. I was trying to customers essentially coming with problems. As a service organization, we essentially address requests for proposals from customers. They're asking for propositions, we give them propositions and so on and so forth. The first step definitely, in setting up things, I do take an interest in it, do the role, set the things going as to how it should be structured, what is the thought process that you have to, adopt in terms of, addressing a certain query from the customer. But then once I'm done with it and I establish that, kind of thought process with my team, but more importantly with the stakeholders, because I'm working with multiple stakeholders in the organization and I have to take this proposition forward to the customer. Once done with that, I essentially encourage the set of people who are actually working on the solutions also to essentially try to defend, I would say, the thought process first, because before presenting actually your thought process, you have to be able to understand and defend. So give them the opportunity to defend, then essentially start creating and actually present, saying that okay, the first part was defending the thought process, the second is I have a thought process and here is the thought process that I would like to represent to you. In doing so, what we have been able to do is we are able to bring up individual area by area chapter leaders, Vipul. Of course, the next set of people who are actually going to lead test automation, but then I challenge them saying that don't just think about test automation saying that which is the tool I will pick up and which is the set of things I will automate. You think a little bit beyond and think what is the business problem that you are trying to solve, what are the additional peripheral services that you will pick it up and carry along with test automation, and hence present a full package to the customer. So the person tries to, of course, is pushed from the comfort zone a little bit, tries to think more in terms of test automation, comes up. We are one service line, Vipul, in the organization where while I might be notionally the leader for that, I have a peer who is equally actually ready already. So it's not about creating another leader there. The leader is already there, absolutely equivalent, has all the information, all the insights that is there in place, can face off to the customer, can face off to our internal leaders and represent the same view that I am trying to take it to the our leadership or to the customers today. She is, I can quote her name, she is Mary Pravina. She is in fact, while I am presenting here thoughts in terms of taking the podcast forward, representing from TCS side for the industry, she is actually taken over as convener recently for the Bureau of Industrial Standards from TCS, from India's perspective to define the software quality assurance standards for the industry. So we are, so the idea is that that is one part. So how we are doing it is one part of it, Vipul. The other part is, as a leader, I have to be comfortable that I am valuable and I can bring that value to the table at any point of time. Given any ecosystem, any situation, I can bring that value to the table. I am not uncomfortable in my shoes, and hence I can actually bring others up and make them more and more comfortable in their shoes so that they can actually start representing things. So if I am insecure, if I am not confident that whether the next set of people who come up, if they come up, shall I become irrelevant? Unless that lack of confidence is something that will create that deterrent. Like I said, again, thanks to TCS, I had that opportunity to learn. See, today if somebody tells me that Lala, for automating a particular test case, it will take actually 3 days, I can question that. I'm not thinking at a high level saying that I have to create test automation capabilities and take it to the market customers. I can question saying that why do you need 3 days? Why can't it be done in 3 hours? Show me the test case, how unravel it and unpack it for me. Let us work together and see, and not saying that no, it's not 3 days, you have to finish it in 3 hours, but work with the person and say that can we do it actually in 3 hours, or are you saying 3 days and 3 days is also not enough? Probably you need more, something is required. So hands-on, that learning has been there, that all-round thinking has been there, and hence we are today, at least I can speak for myself, at a situation where we are comfortable, we are ready to actually bring the next set of leaders. In fact, we are looking for next set of leaders to come, not saying that we are going to bring it up, get those people who can be our evangelists. They can go around either in the industry, to the other businesses, to other locations in the geographies, and represent TCS with the same confidence that we would like to represent as to what is our views. So long answer, Vipul, but to make it crisp, you have to be really, good and grounded in your skills and your area of, expertise. Have that opportunity to do that comfortable enough, and hence it is also important that you bring up others, because only by doing that you will have that space to actually do more, rather than only being stuck in terms of trying to do just a limited set of things, Vipul. So thankful for the organization and that opportunity, but yes, we are working definitely to, as I said, have leaders already, not just look for leaders to be created that way. So that's the.
So I used to practice karate, and my karate teacher told me this, that don't be afraid of your juniors, train them well, and when they grow up in the belt ranking, you will also learn from them, and you would also grow in your belt ranking. So you said that in different words, so thank you for that. But there's a follow-up question to that. We've seen a lot of changes, and earlier we were talking about the changes that are happening in the testing world, and especially business value of testing. This is something that you just cannot go to a training classroom and then teach the business value of testing. This is something that comes from discussions, from living that, and you as the leader, you have to tell people that you need to start thinking in a different paradigm, and especially think from a business value perspective. So how do you do that? What are your thoughts on what testers need to do to start thinking from that perspective, rather than just the technology perspective where they are looking at executing a test case or writing a test or automating something and so on?
Thanks for asking that, Vipul. This is quite close to the heart right now as we speak. I'm struggling with it, to be honest. It's not something that we have an answer, or we have been able to solve it, but we are truly struggling with that thought process. Why I say so? See, I am a career tester also. Like I said, I keep on probably repeating myself there, but in doing so, we have probably gotten into a certain cage in terms of thinking. You mentioned about the fact that we have probably let the mantle of testing getting carried over by probably developers, probably business, probably a lot of other stakeholders. But at the same time, when doing testing, we have also become a little cast in that box where we are becoming followers. We are becoming the afterthought, saying that let the change get figured out. Let people actually define things much more clearer, make it A, B, C, D written down, and then I will come in, take that A, B, C, D and take it forward in terms of defining my so to say test boxes, test scenarios, how much ever I different terms I can give it to them. I'm simply not able to break that mold. While I might say, JP, earlier in the conversation also, saying that I push that boundary and say that think about test design little bit delta, think about requirements little bit delta, but I'm still not able to completely break that shackle. We might have JAD sessions and a lot of these things. We might set that we have a seat actually in the table in terms of business requirements definition and everything, and tester is actually there. We might say that we have done shift left, but why testing only as shift left? The quality itself in terms of thinking, why only testing is being asked to be shifted left? Why not anything and everything else? We have, and hence I'm saying we have become into a box. Let me give an example. We had a conversation with one of the large insurance customers, and we said, I will, the typical KPIs come up, right? I will be effective in terms of testing. I will not let defects pass through. I will hence improve the customer experience because there are lesser defects, lesser downtime actually for your product actually in the whether they're trying to do a claim processing or they are getting billing without much issues if you are introducing new products. But I'm still not able to relate that. This is all still after fact, post facto kind of KPIs. If the customer wants to say that I want to change the policy administration process itself, it is taking 5 days, I want to bring it to 5 hours, what exactly is the contribution from testing side that I'm making from this change from 5 days to 5 hours? Am I there in that conversation at all? I'm not even there in the thought process there. Why? And it's not the customer's fault. The customer asks, so how will testing make actually any difference in this? So honest question, we gave an answer saying that yes, we will simplify the testing cycle. It will become much more faster that we do testing. We will produce lesser defects, and hence it will become faster also. But still not related to the business KPI. It is not still contributing to that. Why? Because and again, we are scratching the surface, honestly, Vipul there. But why? Because we have not started scratching the surface in terms of the architectures, the business architectures, the technology architectures, and saying that you are thinking about testing architectures and the quality architectures right in the embedded stage in the business. If your business actually has a certain architecture there, what does really testing and quality mean in that business architecture? I don't really have a view into that. I really don't have an answer there. But I'm pretty sure unless I move that conversation here and I speak about that, we will the other corollary of the problem, why this is important, right? Why it is important to make it relevant for business, because today everybody says that you prove the value for testing. We say it is not a cost center, it is a value center. We bring value to the table. We cannot change that conversation unless we are actually making it very simple for the business to think through and sponsor anything and everything that has to be done in terms of testing and quality engineering. How do I make that simplification happen and relevance happen will be a journey. I'm thinking we are probably, at least I'm saying that we have to start questioning and thinking in that direction. If we don't think, we will be always probably cased in this thought process of shift left and shift right and all. Not required. I mean, let us break that and get into right in the seat there in the change conceptualization. Then lot of other things will, by the way, materialize also as a fallout. I think we can stop there, but yes, again, as I said in the beginning of the questions response, Vipul, I am not saying that I have an answer, but I have an aspiration. Let me say, I have a query, I have a question to see whether I can go in that direction and take the community along as we do so. And we are struggling, by the way. So when I'm struggling, I'm saying the entire team. I'm challenging the entire team to actually struggle and say that break this. If you don't break this, you will always be thinking as an afterthought, as a later, not as a front.
Thank you, Lala. That was a very, very brutally honest answer, because there have been these conversations going on in terms of test business value added, quantifiable value of business, and test transformations happening. Very frankly, I have not seen a lot of testing and QA related conversations happening at the C-suite level, at the CXO, the CIO, CTO, CEO level at all. Only two instances I remember personally from my experience is when the Enron scandal happened and SOX had to be implemented, Sarbanes-Oxley had to be implemented. At that point of time, every CFO's tail was on fire and they wanted to ensure some kind of SOX compliance testing was done. And later on, we were in the previous organization, one of the hardware manufacturers screwed up with their batteries and they had to do a battery recall, and we had even a call with the CEO saying that at least this time, at least let the battery recall software function correctly. But we don't see a lot of C-suite level conversations happening, and today almost a vast majority of deal, I would not say majority of deal, but vast large amount of deals that's happening in the IT services industries are what we call as transformation projects, are digital transformation, enterprise transformation projects. So essentially, okay, as of now, we don't have a seat on the table, do we?
To be honest, no, we don't. But whether we are actually challenging that status quo and whether we are getting ready for it, yes. So today, for example, we have stopped thinking, at least from organizationally, from our perspective, we have stopped thinking in terms of only having a discussion with the CIO and the CTO, Chief Information Officer, Chief Technology Officer. We are starting to, and some of the conversations are easy. We are having conversations with the, you mentioned about regulations. CRO conversations are becoming a little easier. It is something that is, we are getting into those conversations, saying you have to, in fact, bulk of the conversation there, we have been able to navigate and say that it has to be focused more and more around testing and quality engineering, because standards are standards, they will be there. How do you ensure your organization is ready for it is something that we are able to actually get there in the seat. The conversations which are difficult is the like of Chief Digital Officer, the like of Chief Marketing Officer. They are into the world in terms of digitizing and doing the digital transformation completely, and their entire thought is about whether it is a product that has to be taken out of the box, whether it is a customer department that they have to create completely out of the box. All those conversations they are happening, but they are not yet there in the conversations where we are actually there in the seat and saying that by the way have you, and again I'm using the term by the way, right? Why by the way? So but we are still there. We are there where it is a by the way. The other part of it is we are also, as an organization, we are also pushing, as I said, pushing those boundaries a little bit at a time. But we are actually telling our leaders also that when you are thinking about testing, you don't think about testing. Leave that to me. You tell me what exactly you are doing in terms of change. Define that for me. If you're not able to define that, I will sit with you and I will define that change, quantify that piece of it. Then let us come to seeing what testing has to be done. So for example, from a CMO perspective, from a CDO or a Chief Digital Officer perspective, we are trying to define their ecosystem where their stake is there, their stakeholders are there, and what really testing and quality engineering essentially means there. We are at a scratching stage, JP Vipul, but I would definitely say that it's not that we don't have a seat in the table, because they do realize that if they falter once, in fact, I would go back a little bit to my first consulting assignment when I did that. Essentially, it was a mid Atlantic Eastern kind of bank in US, now quite big currently. As a kind of a narrative, there essentially, so to say, CIO's spouse, when she had gone actually, and she was trying to use her credit card in one of the customer spaces, it failed, and they had launched their, so to say, credit card product just at that particular point of time. That cascaded into things where the customer said, and they didn't have anything in terms of testing before that, by the way, right? So that is where it cascaded into things. They said, okay, we have to figure out, we are not doing a good job in terms of getting the quality out for the customer experience. Let's do something about it. And that is where the first consulting gig about defining the testing, at that time, testing center of excellence. And by the way, it is still there, Vipul, so it is still coming back in conversations. It is a cycle. That is where did the first conversation in terms of testing center of excellence, help them define things. And this is, I'm talking even 15 years back, they were still struggling at that point of time in terms of setting up a proper chained kind of setup where they can ensure that the product and the changes go through seamlessly and the quality is actually good after into the production. Even today we are having those conversations with the customer. Why? Because we are simply not creating that business case for the customers. We are not making it evident for them. They realize it softly. There is a problem somewhere. There is a testing issue, there is a quality issue somewhere, but it is not tangible. They cannot touch and feel that. That is the problem that we are still struggling with. So I would not say that we do not have a value at the table, but seat at the table is what we need. That's something that we have to push for.
I guess people who are into sales and testing, it's a very interesting point that Lala said. If you want to land up with a new customer, go and ensure that you ensure the product for the, whichever is the product, the spouse, whenever they try to use a product, it fails somehow, so that of any of the C-suite members. But Lala, again, you made a very, very interesting point here, and I would just touch upon this, and then I would want your comments. You said conversation with CROs, regulation officers, is taking off. Do you see the overall GRC domain, the governance, risk, compliance, that kind of a domain, because that has a lot of synergies with what we do in terms of quality engineering. Do you think that is one domain that test teams and test organizations should focus on? Because I work a little bit in the compliance space, and I see GRC is growing, and every organization is trying to get some kind of a compliance officer, risk mitigation officer, governance structures and all. Is that one domain that testing is a natural fit or can have conversations with?
The GRC, the risk area, the CRO space, definitely easy fit. That is something that the customers are looking for. Conversations are easy to have, and we are getting work done and work getting started there as well. Where we see, and this space is expanding, like you correctly said, JP, expanding in terms of its own focus in terms of different aspects, and as well as, so basically it's a horizontal expansion as well as a vertical expansion that is happening there. In the process of this expansion, whether our coverage is comprehensive, probably not. We are still somewhere in that so to say 30-40% kind of bracket. We could do a lot more, and like you said, JP, in the beginning, I'm a little bit of an evangelist for test function. I don't really mind who is carrying it out, as long as I can enable that function to be done in the best possible manner. So even if the risk officer or somebody in the risk domain is actually doing that, can I enable them to actually ensure that they are doing that test function is also a possibility. But still, the coverage and the scope is still very much out there for us to cover, and hence provide value from us.
So you talked about CIO's wife. I have a similar incident, an anecdote that I remember. I hope my memory is what it used to be, and I remember it correctly. But one day my manager called me, and I was working for Adobe at that time, and he told me that the software that I was testing was Adobe Reader, and he told me that, Vipul, there seems to be some problem here. And so I said, okay, how did you come to know about it? He said Steve Jobs called up Adobe CEO, probably he was Bruce Chizen at that time, or Shantanu Narayan, I don't remember which one. And then of course it percolated down to me, and so it was not really a very happy situation, but of course that's how things really get moving very fast. Another way to get things moving very fast is to look at new technology, because that becomes a talking point also, in addition to being very useful. And just a little while ago we talked about AI, ML, ChatGPT and similar stuff. Now, how do testers really deal with that situation? There are doom and gloom scenarios that people are talking about, and there are really rosy pictures people are talking about how these technologies can help testers be more efficient and so on. So how do you see this machine first validation kind of thing and role of AI, ML in testers' life, and this whole change that is happening? How do you perceive it? How do you prepare for it?
Interestingly, technology is happening everywhere actually, Vipul, right? So, but interestingly, the conversations in terms of whether it is gloom or whether it is rosy, a lot of conversations actually center around testing arena for some reason or other. Just some other time I was actually talking to my CEO, and I was saying that I was reading this, if I can step back, kind of a future telling kind of fictional but researched kind of book that was there, and it was saying that in the future, as things become more efficient, and obviously the entire economy runs on energy, and we are probably sourcing a lot of energy actually from the solar side. There are different conversions that are happening, and we are finally using it for our purpose, and a lot of effort goes actually in terms of creation of that energy. Into the future, the time will come when this effort will become minimal, almost to negligible, that you can create probably a small button cell and it can power cities actually for days. When that happens, two jobs will essentially always survive. One is of doctors and other is lawyers. Doctors, because people will be sitting around, they will be having nothing to do, they'll probably eat a lot, and because they have too much time on hand, they'll probably fight, and hence lawyers. As telling him, the other job is that is going to be of testers, that is there, because if there is going to be a change that is going to be there, that change always has to be tested, right? We are essentially, this change, if I can say, it is essentially if I can leverage a physics term, it is an entropy that is getting introduced into the system, right? So you're introducing a disturbance. Testing is something which is trying to, again, smoothen that, or at least move it in the direction that it is intended to. Because if entropy is actually, so to say, dispersed, it can create, different, impacts in different directions. But if it is channeled, that, entropy, it can become energy which actually you can leverage better. So testing is that, medium which it can actually go in that direction. Technology has always been enabling, testing to explore and do much more better and contribute better, but we are not doing enough in terms of actually leveraging technology to do better testing. Hopefully I phrased that properly, right? Why so? Because we are not investing. You mentioned about cost, quality and time sometime back, JP. We are not investing enough cost or money, if I may. We are not investing enough time, if I may. We are not doing qualitative work in the testing and quality engineering arena to really leverage the technology that is actually becoming enabler for us, because we are only scratching the surface. We are just, automation if I just use it for test execution. I'll just do this automation and I'm done with it. If I take technology, I just use it, I will just do, again, I will focus only, can I quickly create some data, I can feed it into the application, do some quick testing and get it out there. I'm just stopping there. Again, like I was saying sometime back, I was trying to push the boundaries. Can I really, am I applying these techniques to do better in terms of, understanding and appreciation of the change? Truly, can I, again, if I may draw back, can I get into the business conversations with this technology enablement? What exactly am I doing there in that space? Otherwise, I will just be focused in terms of, yes, the job of test execution might go away. The job of creation of test design or things could go. By the way, go away is a very heavy term. I still want to put it in quotes there, verbally or visually, however it is there. But the understanding of that change and using technology to, like I was saying, channelize that change in a direction where it actually goes, and hence contribution of testing in that is something that unless we invest there, technology will only help us do this piece of it. It will not solve the problem of actually, whether I'm bringing value from testing side and doing better job at it. I know I'm speaking a little bit utopic in this. I'm not saying that, you might question me saying that, Lala, this is all, very good, fancy.
That's quite the truth.
But yeah. But that's the aspiration at least we have to have, and that is the push that we have to do in terms of boundaries for testing.
So if you have that aspiration, it means rubber has to meet the road, as they say, and you have to do something about it. When you deal with new technology, not many people have idea of what is happening, not many people can foresee into the future what mistakes you would be making, and hence tolerance to errors and mistakes, not in terms of delivery to the customer, but what I mean to say is you do an experiment and it might fail. So you need tolerance to failure. In corporate world, people are very afraid of failures, because that means a lot of bad things happening to your career. However, that's how you learn, and if somebody is willing to learn. Now my question to you is that as a leader, how do you deal with failures, and do you encourage people to experiment and so on, and what's the result?
True. So as an organization, if I get the organization answer, Vipul, you are right. I should not beat around the bushes and say that no, failures are encouraged and everything. But at the same time, I was talking about the delta sometime back, Vipul, that delta room is something that is made available even from our organization, at least that I can mention. That delta is something that is made available, that you can actually experiment, you can create a new solution, you can create a new path, and after some time you revert back and find that no, this didn't work, let me change course or take a new path or create a new solution. That is the space that we have been provided, at least from organization perspective. And all this, we do have organizational mandate in terms of KPIs. Results are always important, revenues are important, top line is important, bottom line is important, no questions about that. But at the same time, there is a certain room that is provided to us, and hence these thoughts that I'm talking about, Viepul. Honestly, otherwise I would be very much stuck in terms of saying which is the next test program that is coming up. This test program is actually running in red, I have to go and fix that. Absolutely part of the game. It's not that it is not there and we are entrenched into this, but this small room of wiggle room that we have been provided, we are actually taking that liberty, and as a team trying to think whether we can break some of the cycles. Why? Again, from organization perspective, if I link it, we saw the change and transformation piece of it. From organization perspective, growth and transformation is something that is there. You spoke about why we are trying to change this conversation is because when we question ourselves, saying that transformation is okay. I mean, anybody undertaking transformation, I'm able to link that, because if I understand change, I'm very clear I'll be able to figure out what has to be done in terms of testing and justify that, not a problem. But am I contributing to growth? The customer's growth aspirations and our organization's TCS growth aspirations, where is my narrative in terms of testing is why we are now questioning all this status quo. We are saying that it is not enough that I do just test automation. It is not enough I do test data management. It is not enough I do test environment management. It is not enough that I just do performance or whichever other type of testing. I want a seat at the table on the business, and I want to have a conversation in which I will not talk at all about testing and quality engineering, but I will make sense for them so that they start asking for testing and quality engineering. That is the state that we want to be in terms of, at least I would say we should push for, and we are just starting. As I said, in the beginning of the answer, I was saying that I don't have a straight answer whether I am having a business, conversation ready, so to say, if I'm frame of reference. But yes, we are scratching the surface, and we are definitely clear that we are moving in that direction, Viepul, JP. So that's the aspiration.
So it looks like from your conversation and your answer that you have found the optimum mix between the dashboard-based KPIs and the innovation that has to go hand in hand. One cannot be compromised for the other, and more often than not, deliveries and KPIs have to be given importance more than a lot of innovations which are still unproven. But even innovations and failures have to be accepted. So looks like you have found the sweet spot, which brings me to a question. And I'm sure you would have expected that question when you came to a testing podcast. This like interview one-on-one question, which I should be asking you, that for the next generation of testers, because there are going to be testers, Step-in Forum is going to be, is known for testers following this forum and following our videos. So there are going to be a lot of testers, and especially people who are at the beginning stages and mid-career in their testing journey or in their testing career. So what do you feel are the short-term and medium-term skills that the next generation of testers would need, and what do they need to be prepared for? I would not ask you top 3, top 5. You can select that number for yourself.
Let me answer it in this way, JP. You mentioned about that short and the medium to long term kind of thing. The short term and the immediate skills are always going to be that technology or business skills. We as a testing community lie somewhere in the business and technology change continuum. So whenever there's a business change, I have to be able to test for it. If there is a technology change, I have to be able to test for it. So immediate skill is definitely, if I am trying to make an entry into banking, financial services arena, do I have a product specialization? Do I understand Calypso better? Something like that. That is becoming actually your immediate, need for the skill. Technology, if I am, using it, of course, we are all talking about Gen AI and all but technology is an enabler there. You have to be sure which is the correct technology to be selected at the immediate basis in terms of skills for you. The medium to long-term skills is actually, I go back to my, previous answer in terms of that aptitude piece of it that I said. So this is aptitude. The attitude is something that you have to really work on in terms of a tester. You have to be able to always learn in terms of certain softer skills. In terms of, it is very important for you to convey ideas as a tester to the other person. You should be able to tell why I am actually doing this, or why am I asking you this question, why am I asking you more clarifications to understand a change. So softer skills, invest in that in terms of having those conversations with stakeholders, not just with a developer but with a business, with a sponsor. Can you push that conversations? Pick up in terms of those skills area. Softer skills in terms of written expression and representation expressions are going to be critical. For example, are you able to write what you are actually thinking and send it across to a broader set? You might have one-on-one conversation with Vipul because you are here and Vipul is the developer. I tell them that Vipul, this is not working, can you fix this? But in an organization you cannot work that way, so you are working with multiple stakeholders. But if you write something which is not legible and understandable to the party, you are probably losing in this global world 24 hours or 48 hours in terms of getting things done, right? So softer skills in terms of written representation is going to be holding you good, especially testers, because we work with multiple stakeholders and we have to be, and this is the last part in terms of stakeholders, that it is not enough that you stand in the shoes of a tester and say that if I query, put this variable here, so variable we are talking about, what is the impact that is going to be there, but I should be able to tell from the business person perspective, saying that what it means in terms of impact for you. It should be comfortable that I speak to the technology developer or the technology head, because I go back again with my experience when I was working again from this. I speak there because there are probably some learnings there. From a credit card perspective, we were launching this entire program. It was a complete statements testing kind of program, complete digitization at that point, and digital at that era. Today digital made mean a lot of things. When they were revamped, and they had an entire, so to say, mainframe database way to actually show statements, and it was which was only legible for certain people and they can only read it, to going into online version of it. When the program started, we we did a decent job at that point of time. I would say that we questioned every change in the JAD sessions that I was mentioning about, and saying that this is the preparations that I have to do in terms of testing. Lot of suggestions taken in, lot of suggestions not taken in. Why? Because when the change happens, typically for developer and technology, what do they mean? They say, I have mainframe, create UI, GUI, that's all, it is there, right? It's a simple thing. I'm not changing anything, I'm not changing functionality, I'm not doing anything. Here mainframe, here GUI. We tell them it is not that simple. You are actually changing technology. A lot of things will change in the way you access information, in the way you display information. Fine, people heard some, people didn't hear some. Into the stage, into the first release that comes up into the testing cycle of it, the requirements, the set of requirements were I believe 120, 130 requirements. The number of defects were 640 that was there. And that is where it's okay. I mean, the data is definitely showing that you have a problem here, but that is not enough. We had to not convey this only to the person actually who is heading that product. We had to have a conversation with the change sponsor. What does it mean? What happened really in the process? But more importantly, you have to be able to also articulate what you have to change in the process. That is the conversation with which we stepped in, and as a testing team we had to lead that conversation, because the development team could not lead it, the system analyst team could not lead it. We had to have that conversation. So coming back, it is very important to be able to, so soft skills, yes, basics in terms of written representation and all, but the learning soft skills in terms of being able to convey what would be important to that other stakeholder. It is not enough that you think this is important, why it is important for that stakeholder and what they should do with that information. That, I think, as a tester, it will be continuing to be important for us to kind of keep learning. And it is not every conversation with every customer and stakeholder that you are going to be having is going to be distinct. We should not think that I have dealt with a CIO, so I did 5 conversations with the CIO. Now I'm good. I'll have any conversations with any 6 CIO that comes in. No, the sixth CIO will be different. You will have to do your homework, you will have to have that conversation. Forget CIO, tester, you are going to have a developer conversation. One developer might be very, enthused, they might be, ready to learn from you, fix the defect. Another developer, boss, this is your issue, don't come to me. The other developer is, I will fix it in production when it comes. So everybody has their own priorities. How do you make sense to it? How do you ensure that, things get solved? That soft skill and that learning is something that you have to carry with you as a tester, will hold you. Short term, yes, I'm not going to say that, you don't need that technology skill, you don't need that business skill, absolutely important. Without it, all this is actually just, peripheral
Do you think
stuff.
testers should know how to code or at least understand code?
I think as a software arena, it is important to understand code for sure, JP. That is my feeling. See, that's what I said when I started my career also. I started as a business guy. I did actually more business analyst work. I in fact started documenting business requirements first, and then I was thinking, okay, I have done my MBA. I should just focus on business and I should just go down that path. But then I felt that if I'm working in a technology organization, I better understand technology also. And that is where I was saying TCS, right? So it gave me that opportunity that I actually shifted careers. I essentially took up work in terms of first system analyst, then I actually took up way back at that time, I didn't realize I was doing testing. I used Windrunner and all at that time to create certain things in terms of automation. Then did some shift, but point is, yes, I picked up a technology so that I can appreciate, again, it is all about standing in the other's shoes, JP. So that is something that I can appreciate better if I am actually doing that. At least I have that appreciation for code, if not doing completely coding, which is, of course, any skill is good skill to have. But yes, appreciation of code is definitely going to be helpful in the technology, in the software arena, for you to be confident in that conversation, for you to be able to contribute more and contribute better that way.
People use this word work-life balance. I personally don't believe in that, because work is also life, and you can't compartmentalize life into work and then rest of the life. So I would still like to compartmentalize a few things. For example, technology and rest of the world. So technology, of course, we have talked so much about, but as a person, where do you get your succor from? Where do you get your anand from? Where do you get your pleasure from in terms of non-technology areas? What is it that you like to do beyond that? To get to know a person really well, when you ask this question, sometimes you are astounded at so many diverse things that people really are into and so good at it, or they pursue. We would like to know that side of Lala today.
So, I think it is very important to have a good base in terms of family and friends, Viepul. I mean, I had a very good career going, for example, in terms of sales. I mean, not that I didn't have other places also, yes, hopefully good. But in US, a good career going on. My immediate boss is happy, continue there, scale up things, do more. But at one point of time, I felt that I need to be closer with my friends and families, not by a phone call, but actually sitting across and having that conversation, having a little bit of a timeout, some places. Our organization also gives that, at least that opportunity that you can make some friends, and if possible in the office. See, actually office and work, people say that you should not mix work and pleasure or whatever it is. But if you can, for certain periods, you can balance that inside the office, have some good friends there, where you are able to kind of let go and then come back and focus, sharpen your so to say saw there. Definitely helpful. I would. It is definitely something that I find sucker from. So timing out, off late in our team, we are pushing a lot for for example, fitness for life, right? So doing, for example, yoga, eating good, but not just doing it yourself, but sharing it with your team or your friends, your family, saying that, okay, can we experiment something in this arena? So that's very important. I think it is important, and especially in this era, I think health is quite important for all of us. We should definitely take heart from that and pay attention to it. And if the health can actually result in this good mix of family and friends, why not? I think that will help you still go further. So personal side of it, yes, I think I'm in a good space in terms of when that comes inside the organization or outside the organization. But that's a conscious choice. But it is for everybody, for making their own choices, Vipul, where they go.
Anything else that you like doing, like bathroom singing or reading?
I would say that was probably left in my teenage years or something, Vipul, not today. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, for example, I do a lot of, it's almost like a thing that we have to go out for, say, badminton in the weekend. It is, you do that and you just go and come and relax. Rest of the day you do whatever the family wants you to do. But yes, that is something that you do. So finding time for yourself, I think, see, everybody is busy. There is no question. There is no dearth of work. There is no dearth of things to be done next, whether it is whichever space you find. But little bit of time, whether to think about yourself or work with yourself in terms of physical well-being, I think it is worthwhile to do that, to bring that sucker that you mentioned about.
So which city are you located in?
I am in Chennai. I am based out of Chennai.
So in Chennai, for example, what are the places you like going to? And so, testers of Chennai, they can then probably go around that time and get to meet you.
I mentioned about badminton in the weekends, but I don't know whether I would like to meet testers in the weekends. That's a different thing. I'm a big foodie. I like to experiment. Chennai has been exploding in terms of food scene actually, inside the city, outside the city. Welcome for everybody to come and explore. The place is also becoming, of course, barring metro construction. Hopefully, none of the politicos take leaf out of that. It's a little bit of a traffic mess today. Chennai, much better, by the way, compared to Bangalore in terms of traffic, I would say. But with today's conditions, a little bit tougher. But good places, I would say I also am a little bit of a exploration, kind of person. So I do look out, for example, the churches that is there. If you really want to go there. There are fantastic churches and there are very good also historical places there in terms of Chennai to see. Those are the things that definitely lead me. But yeah, if you really want to meet, it is food is definitely an attraction, Vipul, at any point of time. So yes, that way.
Thank you so much for your candid answers. Really appreciate those, and liked questioning you on those. Thank you so much.
So in all this conversation with Lala, what really comes out is he always talks about the other, the team, how he pushes them, or even when he talked about exercising or healthy eating, he was talking about we can do it together as a team. So I've always seen this, this trait of yours coming out in this conversation that we had. As we are coming towards the end of this podcast, let me take this one step further, going beyond the immediate family, the team, etc. Now, the Tata Group has been known for its contribution to the society, and TCS is a crown jewel of the Tata Group. There's no doubt about it. As TCS, there's a lot of, Step-In is a community initiative, and I'm not talking only as Step-In or Verity or for that matter. As a normal tester, as a representative of the software testing community, are there steps that TCS is taking or intends to take to contribute back to the quality engineering community in India, be that in terms of skills, tools, certifications, whatever it is, but is that thought process there, or is something already happening on that front?
Thanks for asking that, JP. So we are trying to contribute, back to the testing community in multiple formats. One of the formats is whether we as teams and individuals can contribute. I was talking about my peer essentially taking on the role of convener so that we can define standards which can be used for testing in India, of course, and then in collaboration with ISO, doing it for the larger community at the globe. That is one part of it. The other part of it is essentially we have a very well established, so to say, talent acquisition and learning and development kind of ecosystem. We go out to various colleges essentially in terms of evangelizing testing as a career. What does testing really mean? Give personal examples, of course, give organizational examples. What you asked a lot of questions in terms of what should you pick up in terms of skills. So doing that kind of evangelization with the colleges, that is the second thing that we did. There is one thing that we did sometime back. It had taken a pause in this pandemic and COVID years. Hopefully we will relaunch that. Essentially we used to have a kind of a competition that we were holding at Indian scale first, and then later on we actually did it at global scale also. Almost I think 30 to 35,000 people actually participating in that kind of competition, and then of course going through different hackathons and processes, and finally culminating in we actually calling those people. They're from college, again people who are actually doing engineering work or they are currently in that process across the globe, calling them and then holding the final rounds and rewarding them both in terms of of course immediate rewards, and then careers and TCS, those kind of offers. So at a much more larger scale, so one is actually this kind of intangibles, then actually making it tangible, saying that okay, by the way, there is something that we can do. This pandemic years had put up a little bit of a stop because we cannot do all that, but we are trying to now see whether we can revive those kind of initiatives also, and kind of enrich and contribute back a little bit in that forum. So yes, I mean the intentions and the works are very much there in place, JP, from TCS as an organization to contribute back. And this, by the way, I spoke only from testing and quality engineering side. There are a lot of things obviously happening as a complete organization.
But I had a very specific intent behind this question. I know that the quality engineering team of TCS has many tools which you have developed. Any plans of open sourcing them for the larger community?
Actually, good that you asked again. See, we had some time back, we had actually open sourced one of the platforms in the performance engineering side, which was at that point, again, now a lot of things technology has changed, technology keeps changing. This was some time back when network emulation was a problem actually in terms of performance testing. We had contributed something like a WAN emulator. I think it is still there in the open source community out there. So some of those works that we are doing, we are looking to, in fact, even from, I spoke a lot about this, pushing the boundaries and getting into the business conversations. We are hopefully trying to come at a place where we can launch some of this products for people to really assess where they stand in terms of their testing readiness and making business aspirations out of it, making those kind of contributions across. Lot of things to do, JP, but yeah, like you said, you mentioned about that dashboards and the innovation piece of it. So we contribute a little to dashboards. We find some time for innovations and then try to take it. But yes, there are intentions to get some of those kind of offerings out there into the open source side of it, and make it at least for the community as large to utilize that and enrich. So yes, that intention continues, and that is there, JP.
So Lala, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I think I started this podcast saying that it will give us enough food for thought for this, both for the seeker and the thinker. I think we have got way more than just food for thought. We have an entire buffet out there, which many dishes laid out. Speaking from your personal experience, organizational experience, talking on the technology business side. We've tried to cover a wide range of topics in the limited time that is available, and I would really like to thank Verity and TCS who made this possible. This conversation has been in the pipeline for some time, and thanks to Step in Verity and TCS for making this conversation possible. Lala, thank you so much for flying down specifically for this purpose, and thank you so much, Viepul.
Thank you, Lala. Really, there are a lot of thoughts that now I have based on what you said, and probably we can go to the industry together with many of these thoughts. And as JP said, let's not waste food. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Viepul. Thanks, JP. I mean, hopefully we can do more. I think there is a lot of space that we can work out in terms of testing and quality engineering for the industry as large. So it would be lovely to actually contribute in that direction. And thanks for this opportunity, first of all, and last of all. So thanks for that.
Thank you.